because he's cared.
Mhm.
And I hear a lot of people asking, and I think this is a great question for you. How do you feel like your kindness and your being grounded and mindful has allowed you to be successful?
Well, I mean, what I like, I'm in hospitality, right? I make cakes for people. And like I care, I mean, most of the time, when I'm making a cake for somebody, it's for a happy occasion. And um, I really try to like every cake I make, this is for somebody's birthday, it means something special. This is for somebody's wedding, it's important, and I treat it like it's important because it is. Maybe not to me in the sense that it's not my birthday, it's not my wedding, but it's somebody's birthday. And I think about, well, what my birthday means to me or my wife's birthday means to me. This is somebody's birthday. And I'm going to make this cake, I put myself in somebody else's shoes and I just sort of like use that sort of that empathy tool, you know? And I think that like being able to sort of like put yourself in those kinds of shoes, in other people's sort of situations, it just helps you create a better thing. Like, well, if this was my wedding cake, I would care that there's a little fingerprint on there. So I'm going to make sure that that's not there. I'm going to make this perfect. And I mean that right there, we do really quality work because that's just the kind of people we are. We really care. And I think that I mean, regardless of politics, most of the time, like if you're a jerk, nobody wants to do business with you. Like it's just part of, like running a successful business is being nice to people, you know. And like I've found that if somebody's not happy with a cake, I never argue with them. Doesn't matter what I think. I might think the cake is great. I made it, but somebody else didn't. And it's like, you know what? Okay, you didn't like it. Here's your money back. Here's a coupon for a birthday cake down the road if you ever would want one from me again. You know what I mean? And like you find that people really respond to that. Like, wow, like, like I'm not questioning what somebody's opinion was of my cake. And so, right there, again, you're sort of putting yourself in their shoes and, being, not just empathetic, but sympathetic too, to kind of where they are and, making it right, making it better. And, so there's that. I think that, just right there, just being nice, being kind to people, tends to make people want to be around you, you know, uh, get a cake from me, or put me on a TV show. I mean, you don't find like, you hear these stories about like, people in sort of like entertainment and stuff that are like, oh, I heard they're a monster, I hear they're awful, I hear they're this, I hear they're that. Listen, everybody has a bad day, everybody does. I've had bad days. And sometimes, those stories are true. Most of the time they're not. Most of the time the people that are really successful in entertainment are very nice to people, like when you go on like a set, like a, where they're like making a TV show or a movie or something, generally speaking, everybody is very polite, really kind to each other because everybody's working really hard. Everybody's got a job to do. And like I find that like, like as sort of like the talent, the guy in front of the camera, like I usually have the easiest job of the entire place, and I recognize that, I have to sit at a chair and eat cake and tell people at home what I think about it. It's not, I mean, it's difficult in the sense that, I have to do things like I have to describe flavor, right? Which doesn't sound that hard, but try it. It's not easy, right? It's not an easy thing to do. So I have to be able to sort of like look at the camera and tell you at home exactly what this chocolate cake tastes like, and but it's tough, right? It's tough. You got to be able to do it on the spot, like you take a bite of something, you got about 4 seconds to gather your thoughts and then come out with something that is eloquent and like that works. And so I mean that is the sort of the difficult part, but it's not nearly as difficult as, say, operating a camera, or, working all the microphones, or, keeping the place stocked with all the things that the bakers need to do what they do, or being a contestant and actually having to cook all this stuff under all this pressure with 1,000 people staring at you and asking you questions and bothering you when you're just trying to make some cookies. You know what I mean? So like, I know that I don't have the most difficult job there, but I think because of that, generally, like most of the shows that I'm on, everybody's in a pretty good mood, because like I'm always having fun, and I try to sort of, spread that out and make sure that everybody else is having fun, even though we're all working hard. Everybody's there, we're all there together, and we're making television, and that's fun. And I think that, again, you can kind of get like, I know, like if I'm having like a rough morning and I'm going into the studio, like, like people take their cues from like this, the stars, right? I mean, I'm not calling myself a star like egotistical, just person who the show is mainly focused on. People take their cues from,
Right.
and I've seen it. If I'm in a bad mood, it's a rough day for everybody, and it just sort of permeates. And so what I really try to do is sort of like, I'm about to walk in, take a second, take a few breaths and be like, does not matter that the pipes burst and, I got to get my floors redone. It has nothing to do with what I'm about to do in here. Nothing can change it. Let me put that behind me and go in here and do my job and smile and make sure everybody has a good time, And so that's another time where sort of like, spreading that kindness around, really does help. And, the people that make these shows and the people that pay for these shows, like they know, right? They understand, the producers, the networks, all the people that are doing this, they know that like, generally, like if I'm going to be on a show, it's going to be smooth. It's not going to be a lot of problems because people are happier, and they're sort of, when happy people work more efficiently. So there's that too, which I think, kind of lends itself well to success. But I think the biggest thing is, just like what you were talking about at the beginning, how like, you can sort of see it, right? You can, when you're watching somebody, right, on TV, like, that you probably have a good idea that Kim Kardashian is not going to care whether or not you can pay your water bill, right? But like, I mean, you just sort of know, you just like, it's not hard to sort of like listen to somebody talk for 20 seconds and pretty much come up with a pretty good idea of who they are. I'm not saying jump to conclusions, but generally speaking, you get a gut feeling of like somebody's full of shit or not, and I think that, like, one of the things that like, if I'm in the airport and I'm going somewhere and, a little kid recognized me, like, oh, yeah, that's Duff, and they'll come over and I'll take a picture, and sign something. And, I usually like have a conversation with them, and I'll talk. And what I find like a lot of times is people are like, wow, you are exactly the same person you are on TV right here. Like, like you're the same person, and I'm like, yeah, I mean, I'm a terrible actor. So, I don't know how to be anybody else. I don't try, because you find like, especially with like this sort of the rise of reality TV, how it's sort of everything. You get a lot of people that are not actors that are trying to act, trying to be somebody else. And it's just no good. It's not, you know what I mean? Like, it's like, I just find that like, you might find success in that because you're playing a character poorly, but you're playing a character that people find entertaining to watch.
But also that people try to start emulating that. Like everybody's a
That is
reality star
true.
now.
Yeah, with their Instagram, and they're like, "Oh, hey guys, I'm da da da," and it's just like, yeah, nobody cares. Come on, like, what are you doing? You know what I mean? Like, whenever I do stuff, like, I'm very like, I try to be really real about it. Like, whenever I'm doing a demo, if I'm doing something online or in person, like, I make mistakes a lot, and I've watched other chefs doing demonstrations, and either digitally or live, and all the mistakes are covered up. and they're like photoshopped out. And I'm like, that's not how you do that. Like, it's better, like, make the mistakes and let people see what you do when you make a mistake, because they're going to make the same mistake. Everybody's going to do it. And so when you show them, here's the mistake, okay, how do I fix this? And then you show them how to fix it. That's so much more powerful than, let me show you this perfect pie that nobody will ever be able to recreate. You know what I mean? It's a lot better. Like when I do live demos, um, one of my like kind of sort of like one of the ways that I approach them is I always try to do something that I don't know how to do. I'm a good baker, right? I've been baking a long time, and I pretty got most of the techniques down. I understand the equipment, how to use it. So if I grab a recipe that I've never made before, chances are I'll be pretty successful at it. But when it's something that I don't know how to do, I'm learning it in front of an audience of 300-400 people. And because I'm learning it, and I'm sort of just got this constant monologue going of like what I'm doing, people are learning it with me because I'm trying to figure it out. And as I'm trying to figure it out, they are watching me figure it out. So instead of just showing them, this is how you do it, I'm showing them, this is how you learn how to do it. And that is real powerful. That works. People really respond to it. And the really fun thing is when you're doing a demo live and you're trying to figure something out, chances are there's somebody in the audience who actually does know how to do what you're doing. And every single time I'm doing a demo, somebody would be like, oh, you're actually supposed to put that thing in before and then mix it up. And you're like, oh, got it. Like, cool, awesome. And one thing that people really respond to is humility. And when like I can make a mistake. Look, everybody makes mistakes. It doesn't make me not TV's Duff Goldman, right? It actually makes me more TV's Duff Goldman, right? People are like, wow, that guy messes up. And when like I'm listening to somebody in the audience, everybody knows things that you don't, right? And like that's just part of life. Everybody knows things that you don't. You don't know everything. I've learned stuff like on Kids Baking Championship. I learned stuff from 9-year-olds, because they're scouring YouTube for pastry videos. I'm not busy, but like they're like, oh yeah, I learned this cool thing. One of the kids is like 9 or 10 years old, showed me how to make crepes on the back of the pan. So when you're making a crepe, you don't have to pour the extra off. You take the back of the pan and dip it into the crepe batter, and then put it on the
That's
stove, and
awesome.
it cooks, and it's perfect, like perfect. And I was
That's
like,
awesome.
that's amazing. That's amazing. So you can always learn something from anybody. And so, that's one of those things like, that when you can show people that humility and like show them that you're not perfect, show them that there is nothing different between you and me, except to point cameras at me when I screw up. you know, I think people really respond to that. And I think that that's the biggest thing is really being able to connect, through one of these. You know what I mean? Because it's hard. It's just a little dot staring at
Yeah.
you. How do you connect through this little thing?
Yeah, I'm just wondering. So Zoom is like something somewhat new for most of the world,
Yeah.
being recorded, and for you, like this has been your life for years and years. So it's almost like you're kind of giving here like a little bit of like a different perspective. Like you've learned how to deal with being in front of the camera and being a genuine person and engaging through the camera. And us on the other side are like, how am I going to make it through this pandemic? I can't even talk to my coworkers. I can't relate to people. It's hard for us to be emotionally healthy or in tune with each other. And
Yeah.
that's exactly what you're talking about. And this is your day-to-day career that for years and years.
Yeah. Yeah. It's funny. Like when Food Network asked me to do the Kids Baking Championship, and I was like, at that point, my only show was Ace of Cakes, right? That's all anybody knew me from. And like, that show was naughty. We got bleeped. We were like, our humor was a little questionable at times. And I was like, are you sure? Like, you know, are like I'm not, like, shouldn't you find somebody who like knows how to work with kids? I've never worked with kids. And they were like, nah, you'll be great. Don't worry about it. So I went in there, in this room. And I mean, I had Valley Bertinelli next to me. So she's, an absolute pro. She's amazing. She's very maternal. She's great with kids. I knew nothing, absolutely nothing about working with kids. I don't have any kids. I'm about to, but I don't have any. So I don't know child psychology. So I was like, look, I don't know what to do here. So I'm just going to talk to the kids like they were my friends, like they're adults, just people, they're my peers. They're here to bake. And that's how I was like, that's how I talk to them. And it turned out that that is exactly the way that you talk to them. You show them respect, show them that like, what they're doing and what they're saying matters. And when you talk down to a kid, and I found it because I've tried it, when you sort of talk down to a kid and you get a little pedantic, they tend to tune out real fast. They're just like, man, don't talk to me like that. Come on.
Welcome to my life.
Like, yeah. I mean, look, I get it, right? I like, and but the thing is, like, they really like kids are just as smart as you and me. They pick up on everything, and if you try to BS them, they call you on it right away. And you really have to know what you're talking about because they will ask those questions that sometimes adults won't ask because a lot of times we think that asking questions makes us less, makes us like less than, makes you like, oh, if I ask this question, they'll know I don't know that. I love asking questions. I ask questions all the time. I have, a couple different businesses and some of them I have like business partners, investors. These are guys like, this is what they do. They invest money in things. That's their world. I know nothing about money. It's just not my thing. I am a cake decorator. I'm an artist. I'm a musician. I I don't know about money. I have, like it's just not my thing. My dad has a PhD in economics. I know nothing about it's just like, I was dropped off from the front door or something. I don't know. But, like we'll be in sort of these board meetings and, they'll start using terms and words and, the business terms that I've never heard. And every single time I'm like, what's a P&L? What is EBITDA? What is that? What is market share? I don't know what those words mean because it's not interesting to me. I mean, thankfully it's interesting to them, but it's not to me. And so, I'm constantly asking questions like, I don't know what that is. If I'm talking to people about like say baking or something like that, and somebody uses a term or an ingredient or something that I don't know, I am really quick to be like, I don't know what that is. Explain that to me. And I think people also find that really refreshing. If I'm judging, and I've seen this hundreds of times, you'll see people like, the contestant will be like describing what they made, and they'll use a word, something that nobody knows, right? Because it's like they think it sounds cool, or like, try to talk over your head. I every single time I'll be like, I don't know what you just said. What is that? What is this weird sauce from Japan that you just described and used the Japanese name for it? Oh, it's chocolate sauce. Gotcha. You know what I mean? Like, sometimes it's that, but sometimes it's honestly something that you don't know. And I think what's good is that instead of sort of being afraid and be like, wait, I can't just say I don't know something. I'm the judge on the show. Doesn't make me any less of a judge to be like, hey, I don't know what you're talking about. Explain that to me.